Good evening, it's meteorologist Michael Fecka. Welcome back to the 9 p.m. all-weather, all-streaming show we do here every night during the workdays and on weekends. We stream it out to all of our streaming platforms as well as to Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining from either place, please feel free to leave us a question or a comment. Hopefully I'll be able to address it all as I go through the forecast, but if not, I'll go through at the very end and see if I can answer anything individually for you. But let's get started here with a look and a breakdown of that alert day we have in effect starting tomorrow evening and continuing into early Monday morning. We're on alert for that potential of some severe thunderstorms here Sunday night, and then a major drop in our temperatures, followed by the chance for a couple of isolated snow showers waking up Monday morning. But the main threat here is definitely going to be that severe weather threat for tomorrow night. We're primarily looking at damaging winds and even some tornadoes embedded within a line of showers and storms that'll be moving in from west to east. And then behind those storms is when we see that big drop in temperatures and then that potential for some snow showers. But looking at our risk, it has not changed since earlier today. We've maintained this level 3 enhanced risk for severe storms since Friday, and we have our next update usually around 1 a.m. So hopefully tomorrow morning there will either be another update for you or it will rather remain the same. But we're all included in that level 3 outlook, so numerous severe storms are possible. So let's break down the timing here, and there has been some slight shifts in the timing. It looks like the models want to bring this in just a touch earlier with each and every run. So I'm going to show you the more aggressive model here. This is our in-house model, the graph model. So we are going to be dry through much of the day on Sunday. It's going to be cloudy, warm, and very windy. We have a wind advisory in effect through Sunday and into early Monday morning for gusts potentially up to 35 to 45 miles per hour. But taking a look here at this model, it wants to kind of shoot out a couple of showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder out ahead of that main line. And then it wants to kind of absorb all of those prefrontal showers into one main line here that's going to be moving in from west to east. And it looks like it'll be pushing into portions of southern Illinois between 6 and 7 o'clock, and then eventually into the Evansville area now between 7 and 8. And that does include Henderson and up towards Princeton, maybe even down towards Madisonville, and then racing off to the east towards Owensboro, out towards Tell City and Hartford between 8 and 9 o'clock before all this kind of tapers off between 10 and 11. So not so much of an overnight threat anymore. It is still going to be later on in the evening and late into tomorrow night, but at least we're not going to be up and awake overnight past midnight tracking out any showers and storms. It looks like most of that will be pushed off to our east before midnight. And then we'll see that colder air rush in from the west, and that's where we see the potential for a few of those snow showers, which I'll break down that in a little bit more detail coming up here in a few minutes. But I also want to show you another model here, kind of aligns with the same timing, maybe just an hour or so behind, but it does also put out that potential for a few prefrontal showers ahead of that main line of storms, but it still wants to bring in this line of showers and storms through southern Illinois between 6 and 7, perhaps a little bit later than the model I just showed you, but still pushing into the Evansville area, sometimes between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then racing off towards Owensboro, out towards Tell City and Hartford between 8 and 9 o'clock before it clears off to our east between 10 and 11. So timing here has remained fairly consistent, but the bigger factor here is whether or not we actually get any of those showers or thunderstorms out ahead of the main line. Those could also pose a severe weather threat. However, looking at the National Weather Service and what they were talking about a little bit earlier in their afternoon, they're not too convinced on that potential for some prefrontal showers and storms, because it really is going to be contingent upon the strong forcing and lift from the actual front. So unless storms are up and along that actual front, we're not too convinced that they're going to become anything too severe, especially with those storms out ahead of it. But it will be something we'll be watching there. Regardless, our threats haven't really changed all that much. We're not too concerned about that potential for flooding. These storms are going to be moving in here from west to east between 50 and 60 miles per hour. So they're not going to be staying over one location for very long. But as they pass overhead, we are very concerned with that potential for damaging wind gusts. You'll see we're at that 45% hatched risk for damaging winds. And those black lines, that hatch mark, indicates potential wind gusts of 75 miles per hour or greater. So that is hurricane force wind gusts potential within some of these storms as they move in. And then we have been popped in a little bit of a hail threat there just to the southwest of the tri-state, mainly to the southwest of the tri-state, but it does include areas like Union County and out towards Gallatin County as well. And then we're also, secondary threat is going to be that potential for tornadoes. We have been popped up into that 10% hatched risk across portions of western Kentucky, whereas the rest of the tri-state sitting at that 5% hatched risk for tornadoes. So we're thinking more so embedded within the line of showers and storms. There could be kinks in there where those tornadoes could spin up, and the black hatch marks mean that there is the potential for potentially up to EF2 strength tornadoes in there. So that is also going to be something we're watching very closely here as those line of storms begin to move in from west to east. So let me go ahead and check out some of the comments first, and then I'll continue to go here through the rest of the forecast. All right. Amy Howie asking, if the sun comes out, will it be worse? Typically, the sun, when it comes out, it definitely helps destabilize the atmosphere a little bit more, which is something we're kind of limited on headed into this severe weather threat. I actually have a graphic here pictured with the storm ingredient checklist showing you what is going for our severe weather threat and what's kind of going against our severe weather threat. And instability and moisture is fairly limited here. Our dew points aren't really as high as we would like them to be. Typically, you want to see dew points of up to 60 degrees or greater for severe weather, but most of our dew points are going to be in the mid to maybe upper 50s as that front pushes through. So that takes down that instability as well. These two typically go hand in hand, but we have such a potent cold front here that we think that that front is going to kind of overcome that lack of instability and moisture. And then if that parcel of air lifts good enough, it will take a hold of that beneficial shear a little bit higher up in the atmosphere. So that's where you could see those stronger wind gusts get translated down within that line of thunderstorms. But yes, looking if we do see some sun, that may help destabilize us a little bit more. All right. Ashlyn asking for 11 a.m. in Vincennes. We're not expecting any of these showers and storms to begin to move in here at the earliest, late in the afternoon and early in the evening. So the first half of Sunday is going to be just fine. It is going to be very windy out there with winds coming up from the south, gusts between 35 to 45 miles per hour. So keep that in mind as well. All right. Jessica asking if there's two lines coming, if the first line or the second line is more prone to tornadoes. I think both. If we do see any prefrontal showers, we're not expecting two different lines, but we may get a couple of cells pop up out ahead of that main line, both of which would hold a tornado risk. But we think the greater severe weather risk, no matter what, if there is prefrontal showers or anything out ahead of that main line, is going to be that main line along the cold front. That's where we could see those damaging wind gusts and the potential kinks in the line that may lend itself to some tornadoes. Drew Rapp asking if there is going to be a tornado watch tomorrow. I would say most likely. Typically, anytime that we have severe weather moving in and there's even the slightest chance for tornadoes, that indicates that the ingredients are present for tornadoes, which is why they would pop a watch. So I would likely think that there was going to be a tornado watch tomorrow. Dan Leese asking if this is the last chance for wintry precip in your opinion. I think this is definitely going to be the very last little bit of winter that we see headed our way. Looking at some of the longer range stuff, our temperatures continue to trend upwards and above average for this time of year, and it looks like moisture headed towards the middle and end of the month will be a little bit lacking as well. So we may see a little bit of a pattern change, so I do think this is probably our last little bit of winter that we'll see. And I'll break down the cold temperatures and those snow showers coming up in a moment. All right. A lot of people just asking about different towns. I'm assuming you're talking about timing, so I'll go back through some of the models and look at the timing again for you in case you're joining a little bit late and you missed it the first time around. So I'll show you two different models here. Timing is fairly consistent. We're looking at, either early in the evening and then continuing late into the night, but ending well before midnight. So here is the more aggressive, more fast model. This is the graph model. This wants to put out some of those showers ahead of the main line. And if that does get going, you could see some of that shower and thunderstorm activity pushing into southern Illinois by around 3:30, 4 o'clock, but it does look like all of those showers kind of merge into one big line here that holds that bigger severe weather threat by around 6 to 7 across portions of southern Illinois, and then pushing into the Evansville area, Princeton, Henderson, maybe even down towards Madisonville between 7 and 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then racing off to the east towards Owensboro, Hartford, and Tell City, generally between 8 and 9 o'clock before all of this kind of pushes to our east between 10 and 11. Then we have the HRRR model, which shows a similar outline here. It doesn't show as much of prefrontal development as the graph model does. So it has us dry here, 3:30, 4 o'clock. It doesn't really have that line moving in here until 7 o'clock here in southern Illinois, pushing into the Evansville area, perhaps around 8. Same thing there for Henderson and Madisonville, and then out towards Owensboro around 9 through 10 towards Tell City and Hartford before clearing out of here by around 11 o'clock. So that is the general timeline we're looking at headed into tomorrow night. So hopefully that answers all of your questions. All right. Looks like someone asked about what's the chance of tornado hitting the tri-state area. Looking at our tornado risk, we're sitting at a 5 to 10% chance to see tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any point in those areas. It looks like the risk is perhaps a little bit greater across portions of western Kentucky, where dew points will be a little bit higher than the rest of us. But again, we are looking at primarily a damaging wind threat, and that potential for tornadoes, they're going to be embedded within that line. And looking there, you could see that you have those black hatch marks, which means if we do see tornadoes develop, there is the potential for them to be of EF2 strength. And then you also see those black hatch marks along our wind damage threat that has the potential of becoming 75 miles per hour or greater with those wind gusts. All right. Let's go ahead here, talk about the storm ingredient checklist. I already went over this. We do still have some limiting factors headed into tomorrow. Working against us is that lack of humidity or moisture and instability, but we do think the front itself is going to be strong enough to kind of lift up those parcels from the surface and kick them up into the shear, and that's where we'll see that damaging wind threat and the potential for some tornadoes. So that's the kind of storm risk we're looking at here. I know more people are still asking about timing. I'll probably go over it again at the very end of this streaming show, but let's continue on here with the rest of the forecast, because even outside of the risk for severe weather, we are looking at some very gusty winds tomorrow. We do have that wind advisory in effect until 8 a.m. Monday morning. We have the potential to see wind gusts as high as 35 to 45 miles per hour. So even outside of any showers and storms, it is going to be very windy, and you could still see some wind damage from that. Some falling limbs are possible, blowing objects like trash cans, lawn furniture, porch furniture, and things like that. If you don't have them tied down or bring them in, they could definitely be blowing around all over the place. And if you're driving a higher profile vehicle, you may endure a little bit of a tug on your wheel, especially if you're driving west to east, because these winds are going to be coming up from the south. But let's take a look at those wind gusts here. So it is going to be gusty starting Sunday morning. Gusts between 35 to 45 miles per hour will be possible the entire day on Sunday, leading up to that front's passage. And then behind that front, they'll switch wind direction and they'll become more northwesterly, gusting between 30 to 40 miles per hour. And it's that wind direction that's going to bring in that colder air, and that's where we see that potential for a few scattered light snow showers. Again, we're not looking at a major snowstorm by by any means. It's going to be very scattered in nature through Monday morning before we finally dry out headed into Monday afternoon. And in terms of snowfall amounts, we could get a slushy coating on grassy or elevated surfaces. So things like bridges and overpasses, a lot of the times when we have colder air coming in, especially with the wind, they do cool off first. So if there is going to be any isolated slick spots Monday morning, it would be on bridges and overpasses. But I think for the most part, we are going to be fine here in terms of that winter risk. And looking at the winter storm impact, the Storm Prediction Center or the Weather Prediction Center highlighting that very minimal impact from those showers. So the main impact here from Sunday night into Monday is definitely going to be the potential for those severe storms. But we want you to be prepared, not scared, and the best thing you can do is get the latest information. So you're already watching this, you're already starting it off right. You want to get the most up-to-date information here from the weather using us and the app. If you don't have multiple ways to receive warnings, you definitely want to get that underway. You want to have that NOAA weather radio, and if you don't have that, the best thing you can do is download the app. The 14 First Alert weather app will give you notifications for any warning issued for your specific location. And you also want to be thinking about where your safe space is, whether you're going to be at home, work, or displaced anywhere else. You want to make sure that you have a way to protect yourself in the event you are placed under a warning. And now as we get into tomorrow, we'll continue to fine-tune those details such as timing and stuff like that, tracking storms live. So you want to make sure you adjust your plans so that you're not displaced from your home or your safe place during the time of these storms. And you want to make sure you're reminding your family of your safety plans, especially in the event you're placed under a tornado warning. You also want to ensure wherever you're going is cleaned out. A lot of the times our storm shelters, it's not a separate room. It's typically a closet in the hallway or an interior bathroom that may be a little bit cluttered at this time. So you definitely want to make sure that's clean and accessible for you to go to so that you can protect yourself. And then if a warning is issued, you want to take action immediately. Go to your safe place and making sure that it is away from windows and exterior walls. You want to get low to the ground, cover your head, preferably with a helmet if you have it, but if not, couch cushions, pillows, blankets, and stuff like that, throw them on your head and your body as you go into your safe place. And you also want to make sure you have a good sturdy pair of shoes or boots. In the event you do sustain some damage, you don't want to be walking out onto that debris and further injuring yourself. All right. Kathy said she's really scared. Well, I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be prepared. Angie asking about Vincennes. How does it look for us? It looks about the same as everyone else here. We're all under that same level 3 threat for severe thunderstorms, and that line of showers and storms extends all the way up and down the tri-state. So, there's not one area that's going to get hit harder than the other. So we're all pretty much under the same gun here headed into tomorrow night. All right. So I'll continue on with the forecast here. So beyond the alert days for Sunday night into Monday morning, temperatures continue to cool down. We're going to be dropping down from the low to mid 70s Sunday morning down into the upper 20s waking up Monday morning, and then into the teens waking up Tuesday morning. And any little bit of a breeze that's still left over, especially on Tuesday, is going to make it feel a lot colder. So look at just the sheer difference in our temperatures here going from Sunday night into Monday morning, feeling like the 70s Sunday afternoon to feeling like the teens Monday afternoon. And then waking up Tuesday morning, it could very well feel like the single digits across the tri-state with those wind chill values. So you definitely want to make sure you're bundled up with multiple layers and you have that winter jacket ready. I know many of us probably threw it in the back of the closet and forgot about it, but you still want to make sure that you have that as you head out the door for Tuesday morning. And then we will start to warm back up headed into next week. We'll pop back up into the mid 50s for our Wednesday and then hanging out back into the upper 60s to around 70 through the end of the work week and into next weekend. So it's a very short-lived cold snap here through the next 7 days. All right. not seeing any additional questions, so I will go back and take another look at the timing because I know people are continuing to ask about timing and their specific location. I'm not going to name off every town and location in the tri-state here, so I want you guys to know where you live on a map when I play out these models. I'll just mainly be listing off the names that you see here in the black. So this is the more aggressive and quicker model. So this brings showers and storms potentially into areas like southern Illinois by around 3-4 o'clock. And these would be those prefrontal showers. If they do develop, they could still pose a severe weather risk. But it looks like as those showers kind of stream northward, they'll get absorbed by the bigger line coming in from the west. So that line should start to move into areas like southern Illinois between 6 and 7 o'clock, pushing into the Evansville area between 7 and 8. Same thing for Henderson, up towards Princeton, down towards Madisonville, and then pushing out towards Owensboro between 8 and 9 o'clock. Same thing out there towards Tell City and Hartford before all this comes to an end as it pushes off to the east of the tri-state between 10 and 11 o'clock tomorrow night. Now that is one model run. The other model run a little bit slower, and it doesn't have as much development out ahead of the line. So we are dry here through Sunday afternoon, and we don't really see those showers and storms pushing into Illinois again until between 6 and 7 o'clock, and then pushing into the Evansville area up towards Princeton, down towards Henderson and Madisonville until between 7 and 8 o'clock, and then out towards Owensboro, Tell City, even up towards Jasper, down towards Hartford between 9 and 10 before clearing off to our east between 10 and 11. So hopefully that answers some of your questions for you. But let's go ahead back down to the 7-day, and then we'll close out the stream here. Hopefully answered all your questions. I'm doing my best. Looks like Chris Smith mowed the yard all day today, and now it's going to be winter for 2 days. Yes, that is March for you. But that's all I'm seeing. So I'm going to hop off the live stream. I'll send you guys over to 14 News at 10 for all the latest news and weather headlines. Until then, everybody, enjoy the rest of your night and stay safe tomorrow. We'll be back here again with updates through tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon, and then, of course, as those storms are rolling in from the west. So until then, everybody,